Where are you located?
I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. I just moved here the beginning of 2019. So this is home now after living back in California my whole life.
I see the tribute there.
Yes, of course.
Born and raised in the Los Angeles area?
Uh, Born in Central California, Visalia, California, but we moved
Yeah.
to LA when I was like 5. So it's really all that I knew. And
No.
the California vibe, it's like it's a real thing. Are you from there or are you very familiar?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I have my cousins out in the LA area who
Mm,
natives. I mean, all of them. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there's definitely it was a little bit of a switch, but I got to say not as much of a change as it would have been if I had moved when I kind of first started to come out here. I've been taking writing trips here for probably 20 years, and Nashville has changed like 4 times over those 20
Oh,
years in
tremendously. Yeah.
very significant ways. Yeah. So now I'm meeting more and more people who did the same thing that I did that are from LA, or the East Coast or Chicago. So there's definitely, you know, a blend here now.
What is the vibe? What is it about Nashville? It's just a creative community that really just inspires you.
Yeah, I love that it's just like unapologetically a songwriter place. Like if you say that you're a songwriter, people understand that that's a real thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and there's just something about the way people think about songs here and kind of the chances that the songs will have after they're written that just is more of a fit for me than LA was. I mean, I love the people there. I know LA gets a bad rap sometimes, but there's some glorious humans there. I mean, some of my very favorite people in the world are there. To make a living at writing, be living in LA, like making your living because you are in the city that you're in. It was very film and TV sync heavy, and that's just kind of not where my instincts lie. And here it just seems to be more of a fit. So, and at some point I realized that when anything really, really good would happen, it would either happen because I traveled somewhere or it was something that could have happened regardless of where I was. So I was like, okay, maybe LA is not really helping the overall cause, even though I love it. And the California thing, it's in me. It'll always be.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. It's just something that you're used to for so long. And then what was that adjustment like? Even though you had visited over the years to
Yeah.
Tennessee, what was that adjustment like when you made this more of a permanent thing?
Well, I was really interested to find out how it would look to go from being, a traveling writer who shows up for a week or two at a time and people tend to rearrange their schedules because you're only in town for a week and like so I was really interested to see what was going to happen once I lived here. And so I moved at the beginning of 19. I found my place that I'm in now in the middle of 19, worked my ass off to just kind of, you know, to make the move work financially, and then rounded the corner on 2020, and then we know the rest. So I
Wow.
haven't really seen what it looks like yet. Like being a resident of this place where I had already built a little bit of a foundation. I know a lot of people and I love the people here, but I don't really know yet what it looks like because of the lockdown.
Yeah, and what a cultural scene there is too. And you go to the bars, the honky tonks, the Ryman Auditorium, these places. That's when you get the real feel for it. It's just that odd timing. I'm sure that had to be tough to deal with that after you've just decided to make this huge leap.
Yeah, so I do the move, I do the huge leap, changed just about every aspect of my life, changed my personal life, where I live, you know, I'm single for the first time in 21 years. There's like a change, 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 change. And I had started doing all of that stuff. Like I was going to shows like almost every night. And I'm pretty like in LA, I was pretty introverted, like wouldn't go out a lot to shows. Maybe because, they would always be there. I could just go later, whatever. But here I was like making myself just be out all the time. And then, and that was totally working. You know, I was meeting like 10 new people a day through friends. It was on track to be a good plan. And then a tornado came through my neighborhood, and I speak earthquake, but I've never been in a tornado.
Oh,
This is a whole new deal. You probably have in
I
Ohio,
have.
right? You've seen that, yeah. So it kind of shut everything down, and then it prompted a lot of tornado relief shows. So then I was out in a crowd in early March. So what do you think happened next? So I got the
Oh
virus.
gosh.
So then I was down for like a month. And then by the time I came out of it, I mean, it hit me really hard. I was not one of the lucky ones. Well, sorry, I am one of the very lucky ones because I'm still here. But I wasn't like, oh, I felt like a cold. Like, no, it knocked me on my ass. Super scary. But once I came out of that, it was like, no, we're on hold, you know?
Yeah, but so you are a jack of so many trades, producing, songwriting, and then performing. So do you have a preference over it, or you just like having that variety? Is it's all equal?
Well, the variety is definitely helpful because I think they all serve each other. There are have definitely been um, many situations where I got a good opportunity as a songwriter because I was the artist who opened the show for the headliner. And now I get to write with a headliner. I got great opportunities as an artist because I wrote songs that somebody recorded and then they wanted me to come on the road with them. It's like, so they all serve each other for sure. If I was forced to pick one, it would always be the writing. The songwriting was that's the first love, and that's what prompted all of these other things. Like I got up on stage to be an artist because I wanted to get the songs out. I'm not, and I've met many people that are the other way around. Like they started writing so they'd have more to sing when they're on stage. It's like, no, I'm the other way around. I'm only up there because I want to share these songs that I wrote, you know?
So how did you get into songwriting? Where did this all begin?
It began in kind of an odd, like I'm not even sure how it connects exactly, but it started out. Um, it really started in the seventh grade when uh, learning an instrument was offered in school for the first time. And I know there's a lot of programs around the country where you get it earlier, but in LA at that time, it didn't really start up until the seventh grade. I chose to play the oboe because,
Hmm.
and I vividly remember this, I was on the way to my first day of seventh grade with my dad, and we were listening to the classical station. And dad said, you know what? There's not a lot of oboe players in LA. I bet if you played oboe, you could work. And I hadn't even like held one yet. I was like, okay. So I did that and then switched over to saxophone.
Oh,
And then I was like obsessed with saxophone. Like I thought I was going to be a saxophone player. I played around town. I went to college for it. My first dream was to play saxophone with Bonnie Raitt. Like if I can do that, that's like I'm in, right?
great.
And I thought that that's what I was going to be. About halfway through college, I realized I love this, and I love the musical roads that it's leading me down because I got into jazz for the first time. I hadn't really checked that out, but this isn't like my where I live. Like I grew up on Bonnie Raitt and Joni Mitchell and Ricky Lee Jones and Jackson Brown and I that and so I started to try my hand at writing like that and like keeping the saxophone around like for a solo or for a horn section or something. But my primary love very quickly became writing, trying to write in the style of those artists that I had heard all my life.
And you could hear those influences, especially on the new release,
Oh, thank
Mercy
you.
Rising. Where does that title come from?
Mercy Rising is it's the first song on the record, and it was really the first song where I was writing it knowing, okay, this is for this album. Like this is the thing that is left to say on the album, and I'm gonna dive in. And I yeah, I really let that one just like be real as hell. You know, and it's trying to embody a lot of the stuff that I was going through when I moved. You know, there was I wasn't able to get past some stuff. I changed so much about my life, where I live, and you know, my personal situation. Like so many things had changed, but I still felt this weight. I'm like, okay, what is it going to take? Show me something. Show me some little shift in anything. Like, do I have to run more miles per day? Do I have to drink more wine? What the hell do I have to do to make that? What do I have to change in my day to feel a change? Because I just kept waking up with the same stuff. So that's what that song's about. Like, just show me a shift in the sky, you know?
That's yeah, I think a lot of us could relate with that. It's just that's I think how that resonates and why it works so well. It's like we've all gone through that kind of like, hey, what do I have to do here to
Right.
really make it feel like we're whole? So I think that works out beautifully well. Yeah, it's just I love hearing the Bonnie Raitt influence throughout this. It's
Oh, I can't escape that. She is my girl. She's awesome. And I mean, in my case, I'm lucky that the thing that pushed me forward and shifted stuff is that I get to write about it. So just the writing of it, putting it down in a song, you know, working through the production of it, really like ironing it out to like, this is the way I want to present this song. That process for me is what finally made a shift.
in recording this, how did that all come together? Who did you get as producer and get it all together? Did you record totally in Nashville?
Totally in Nashville. I am the producer, so I'm enjoying producing, you know, producing myself now.
Oh yeah,
um,
far easier.
I tracked it at my buddy Joshua Grange's place here in Nashville. We tracked drums, uh, bass, and he plays electric guitar and steel guitar. He's a masterful player of anything that has, a string on it. He'll figure out how to make it sing. So I tracked there at his place. I took all those files back here into this room and did all the vocals, and you can't see the piano, but it's off there, and Wurlitzer, and acoustic guitars, and just kind of any little bells and whistles that I didn't want to be on the clock for, so I could just kind of play around. So I finished it here, and then my buddy Ryan Hewitt mixed it, and it sat there for a little bit, waiting for the right time. Like, I'm used to touring around a release, so I had to kind of figure out, like, what is that going to look like a podcast tour, or what is it going to be? But yeah, it felt like the time was right, you know, to start the single releases, and then the full album is coming out on May 7th.
It sounds wonderful. It really is. I mean, it's so many really good deep tracks. Do you
Thanks.
have a favorite out of them? That they probably like they're all your babies,
Oh,
but do you
man.
have any?
Um, Maybe Missions.
Yeah,
It's such a quirky thing, and it's just so true. It's just such a snapshot of a real thing, and I like how it starts out like it's just electric guitar and vocal, and then the full band comes in and just tries to blast your face off. And that was originally the last song, and then um, I added another song that I wrote for a podcast called Songwriter, and I say it like that because the W is uppercase, where
yeah.
they pair a storyteller with a songwriter, and the storyteller shares a story, and then the writer has written a song in response to it. So my storyteller author was Cheryl Strayed, who I freaking love. I'm such a fan. So she read a column of hers, and I wrote a song in response. And then I was just, it was just such a cool thing. And the podcast is going to air right around the release of the record. So I was like, I'm gonna add this. I tried to do like an old fashioned like hidden track, like a 10-second space before it, but once you post on Spotify, like anything could happen. But
True.
yeah,
You got to listen to it as a whole. Like, now, is this going to be out in CD or vinyl form or both?
all of it. Yeah.
Good.
So the CD is coming out on May 7th. Vinyl production apparently in the US is running way behind. I think it's just harder to do it now with the lockdown. So vinyl is going to be a little bit later than that, but it is happening. It's just like, it has to happen now. I think every record I make, I have to do vinyl now. It's
So
expensive.
how personal is this? I mean, is this a really personal release for you? Is it
Yeah.
mainly autobiographical or?
The most of all of them. Yeah. Cause I was just going through all of these changes and all this kind of wondering if it's going to be okay. And the music, was always there for me. Like I could always just put it in a song, and it just the writing of it and the recording of it and the sharing of it, with the players, and the co-writers, um, helped to move me through it. So yeah, it's extremely personal.
How did it all come together with all the instruments, all the players? Did they do it separately, send you files separately? Did you do anything together?
Well, we did this um, at Josh's at the end of 19. It was just in time, so we got to be in the room together. I really wanted that. I wanted that kind of old school humans in a room. So, yeah, we made that happen. Very, very into 19.
Very good. Just under the wire. That's
Right.
fantastic.
Right. And then I was alone here, like I'm used to doing afterwards, but it wasn't because of the pandemic. It's just because I like to have it, alone in the cave for a while to try out some stuff. But I did get electric and the bass and the drums all at once in that, setting. That was really awesome.
Yeah, there's some really wonderful, mesmerizing tracks, and you had a little help on one of them. Tell us about PJ, who
PJ
helped out.
Pacifico,
Yeah,
love him. Yes. Yeah, we're singing. We started to write that song. In fact, it's the single that just came out a couple days ago. Um, and we were both singing the melody, and I didn't want that to change. you know, it was so cool. Our voices are completely different, and somehow they blend very, very well. So when I sent it to him, so his vocal did happen. I think it was after the pandemic, but even if it wasn't, he doesn't live here in Nashville, so he would have had to do his part from his place. And yeah, I asked him if he could just stay unison all the way up to the chorus, and then he's doing a harmony with me, and then he's harmony through the rest of it. And it's so fun to sing with him. He's just such a good human too. It's such a good feeling. I love to work with other people. I love the collaboration. Most of these are collaborations. I love to write with other people. I love to harmonize. That's one, like, hugs and harmonies are the two things I miss the most in the pandemic. Getting to sing with somebody in person and not having to do this crap. Those are the two things, man. I cannot wait to change back.
no, it's so messing with our heads,
Oh
and now
man.
we're dealing with all these mental issues that are coming along with that. A PTSD form of mental illness. It's just sweeping the whole world, and it's going to be so hard to dig out of that.
Yeah, there's going to be some leftover stuff that I think some people have an idea of what it's going to look like, but I think we're going to be surprised too because we've never seen this before. So, like, what are the lasting effects, and what are possibly the lasting silver linings too? Like, what are the things that we're going to take away? Like, what's really important? But yeah, there's going to be some weird stuff. Like, I'm either going to, like, inappropriately hug somebody for too long, or share too much at the grocery store or something, or or it's going to be weird. Like, I don't know. Even though we're all vaccinated, it's going to be a transitional period for sure.
Yeah,
We're coming
yeah,
out.
definitely. And hopefully you get back to live performing again because you get that immediate audience reaction, and I'm sure that's something that you greatly miss.
Yes.
along with a lot of other artists, I'm sure. So
Oh
you
yeah.
have written for many other artists. What is that like writing for somebody else? Do you go in with that intention? I'm writing lyrics for so and so. How does that work for you?
The artists that so there's some of those artists like Lisa Loeb, um, Kim Ritchie, Terry Clark, where I wrote with them, and it was pretty clear that it was, for them. So, uh, yeah, in those cases, we definitely have them in mind. The other ones, though, Bonnie Raitt and the Chicks, I just wrote. I was just writing, and I was just focused on writing a song that, felt real to me, and where I felt a connection to it, and I just had to trust that somebody else would. I didn't necessarily have them in mind when I was writing, and I early on, I think one of my early publishing deals, I was like, assigned things like, okay, we're writing for Faith Hill's next record or whatever. And I would always try, I'd always take a swing at it, but it never landed when I thought I was writing for what's on the page or what they say they want. It only landed when I just wrote something that felt real. And I'm usually surprised by the songs that somebody wants to record. The Chicks doing Home, I would not have thought that, but my publisher at the time, Scott Sherrod, pitched it to them, and I was like, "Really, that one?" And I had like all these other songs that I thought were totally them. He's like, "No, no, no, I think it's this one," and he was right. So I just try to stay out of it now.
I wonder what somebody like that saw in it and you didn't. I think you just have to step back away from the work and
Yeah.
oh yeah, that I know is going to totally work with that certain artist.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna write, and then I'm just gonna try to get them out. And sometimes the way that artists hear it is because it's on one of my albums. It happens every which way. Sometimes it's publisher, sometimes it's me, friend to friend. Sometimes it's on the radio. It could be on like a tiny station, but it's the favorite station of the artist. You never know.
That is so interesting. So, in your solo career, has anybody covered any of your tracks off of your solo albums?
Uh, yeah, I don't know if Bonnie's record came out. I forget the timing of it, but one of the songs that she recorded, uh, "Crooked Crown," was on one of my albums called "Fine Upstanding Citizen," and "A Home" was on my album that the Chicks recorded. Um, yeah, there's been a few of those. I'm not sure that they heard the song through the album. It's hard to know exactly how the song found them. Sometimes it's just because it's out there and maybe they subconsciously hear it in a few different ways.
Did they radically rearrange it to how it suited them, or was it pretty close to your version?
Pretty close. I've been very lucky like that. I haven't had a song just get like completely turned on its ear. And I have friends that have had their songs recorded by artists and they're like, "So I got this cut. It's really exciting, but don't listen to it because it sounds like crap." You know? Like, okay, congratulations. You know? No, I've been really, really fortunate. They've just everybody that has recorded the song has
Yeah,
made me
it's so
very
hit
proud.
or miss. There's no, I mean, it's art, so there's no formula. So you don't know
No,
really what's gonna take off and what's gonna flop.
ever. No. And once somebody wants to record your song, I mean, first of all, once the song is out there at all, they don't have to ask if it's okay if they put it on their album. Like once I put it on my album, anybody can record it. They don't have to get my permission. I only have to give permission for the very first time that it's out. So somebody can just like run off and do whatever they want, with the song. I mean, in theory, I will be paid for it, but that's a whole other conversation. Um, but once it's in the hands of the other artists, yeah, I don't have any more control. I hope that they don't accidentally change a lyric. I hope that they don't make it into, a polka. I don't know what they're gonna do.
It could happen.
It could happen.
Or you could end up with Muzak too. That's always pretty big with a lot of artists.
I think that's like a sign that you've made it when you hear yourself in the grocery aisle.
I totally think so. So what was that feeling? I ask a lot of artists this. What was that feeling when you first heard your any of your work, like over the radio, whether you wrote that song or performed?
Right.
How was that feeling?
Well, there's been kind of levels of it. The very first, like, slap in the face, like, okay, I'm hooked. My very first cut was with Cher, and yeah, I was in the late '90s, and I remember hearing Cher's voice that we're all so familiar with, singing my song, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I need this in my life, like to have my song have this life, with somebody else, with an artist that obviously sells a few more albums than I do. So um, that was a huge just rush, and I knew that I was hooked, and I knew that, and that was kind of the very beginning of everything. Like, I signed my first record deal in that same year, and from that very first experience, I've always tried to keep writing for other artists and also making my own albums. Like, I try to keep them both going. Um, so that was the first one. And then, yes, hearing this song on the radio. I remember doing a radio tour early on for the first record, and hearing me on the way to the interview. They would play the song like as I'm driving up, and I could hear it in the car.
Oh,
Yeah, it's yeah, the stuff of dreams. I mean, yeah.
oh, totally, totally. And you've seen this business change quite a bit. How many, I don't want to give it away any ages
All
or
right.
have you been in this for decades now?
My first album, well, the first album came out in '97. Um, and what is it now? Eight. I think I'm in eight albums now. So yeah, we're talking about, what are we talking about?
Nice.
23 years,
Yeah. The
something like
music
that.
business.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, even in just that span of time, there are people who've been in it twice as long or three times as long, and they've seen a lot of changes, but you've seen probably quite a bit since the late 90s all the way through now.
Yeah, and you know, I've talked to friends about this, how the lockdown, how the 2020 just wall of change hit all of us. I wonder if it didn't hit, I'm trying to articulate this well without sounding like an ass, some of my friends and me a little less hard professionally, because we're just used to constantly adapting and just figuring it out. And like, things will be going well, and then the rug will be taken out from under you because nobody's buying music anymore. And now it's all about the streams, and that money is super low, and the companies are fighting to pay even like a vaguely fair price for the content that they're selling, and the songwriters are having a hard time, and we're having to figure out what else we can do. So let's figure it out. So yeah, it's been a lot of adapting and a lot of shuffling around, but also like learning new sides of the business. Sometimes I'm relying on live shows. Now that's not happening right now, but um, sometimes I produce another artist. Sometimes I'll write a theme for a podcast, or there's always something.
That's good. That's really good. You have to always like surf, like being on the waves, like in Southern California, like my cousin, and surf those
Really.
waves. That's
Yeah,
really
and they're
helpful.
gonna ebb too sometimes, and you got to figure out what to do then.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because I mean, I know as an artist and the more traditional your legacy type artists back in the day, they would be like some of them would just go nuts over like, where am I on the charts? Where am I on the billboards? Where am I? Now it's about, oh, how many streams am I getting? I mean, do you really care about those kind of things? Or is it just like, look, I'm putting it out there, whoever
Right.
listens, listens.
Yeah, I have to take the second approach. I can't really be bogged down. I mean, if I had like a team of people that was analyzing all that stuff, I mean, maybe it would be interesting, but I'm just like head down about the work and surviving, with it. And I mean, just that I can do this thing that I love. You know, and also opportunities don't always come in those obvious ways. Like I got a million streams or I'm this on the chart. Like I've had some really cool stuff come at me from total sideways, unexpected things. And it wasn't about the streams. It was just about who heard it. It was just that person who heard it has this other project that they want, me to be a part of or whatever. So it I don't rely on those factors to be like my in to the next opportunity.
Absolutely. So going back to the instruments that you learned, when did you pick up guitar and piano, keyboards? When did that all occur?
Yeah, that was when I knew that I really wanted to write songs. And so when I fell hard for that, so that was probably middle of college. I was probably 20, and I started on piano, writing on piano mostly, and then kind of felt myself going to the same places on the piano. And so I went over to the guitar. And now guitar is probably my primary. It's also easier to travel with it and all that stuff. So yeah.
How true that is.
Yeah.
How did you teach yourself? Did you have lessons?
Well, my dad is a wonderful player, producer, writer, everything. He showed me a lot. He showed me a lot around the studio. Showed me, um, you know, he gave me a really good head start on the guitar. Once I started writing um, in town in Los Angeles with other writers, I would learn something from every one of those sessions. I think I still do. I think we all do. Like every time you have a co-write session, you're gonna walk away with something. You learn some new voicing or some new lyrical angle or something. So yeah, I just kept at it.
When did you discover your singing voice and who you were emulating at that point? How did that come about?
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was emulating anything. I was just trying to get the songs out. Really, having songs that I wanted people to hear was the primary inspiration for learning how to sing and how to get over my kind of painfully introverted side and get on the stage, not just as the saxophone player over there, but as like front and center. I have to talk to you. I have to sing to you. You're going to hear my words. Oh my God. Like it was some of the most nervous I've ever been in my life to get through that first probably year of shows. But I made myself do it. And I'm really, really glad that I did because now I love it. It took me a couple years to really enjoy it, to just like, to lean back into it and and be okay. And it's not just like this thing I have to do because I wrote these songs, but now it's like I really enjoy it. And the transaction with the audience, just we're all here to share this night. That's a really cool thing. I can't wait for that to start up again.
Yeah, and you'll probably come out like roaring, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just loving every second of this instant feedback."
I know I have to not, we have to be careful to not be a spaz when that happens and not just like flip out at the fact that it's real again.
Oh, totally, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think when you get up there, the house lights are on you. Obviously, the volume is
Mm,
turned up, so you're
mm.
bigger than the audience. So I would imagine that it's probably that keeps you at a safe distance and probably makes you feel more comfortable being at the front of the stage.
Yeah. And now, I mean, after all these years, it's like now I can just feel like we're all just hanging out. It's not, I don't have to, I don't wonder what I'm supposed to be anymore. Wait, am I supposed to be a star? Am I supposed to be, a glam? Am I, what am I supposed to do? Like, no, I'm fine now. I'm over all that stuff. I guess that's, part of being 49 is that you're like, it'll be fine.
Just a
And if
kid.
it's not, it's not. It's yeah,
Got
exactly.
another 50 to go.
And if it's not, F you. Like if you don't like it, leave. Whatever. There's
That's
plenty
how it
of
is with all art. Anything you put out there, it's like,
yeah.
look, switch the dial, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. My worth isn't writing on it. So there's plenty of people that are great that I don't choose to listen to. Like, fine, roll on. So I'm not feeling that anymore that I probably did in my 20s.
Did you get to play live with any of these people you've written for, like Bonnie Raitt or Art Garfunkel's another one in the
Yes, yes to both. Robert playing with Bonnie. I mean, singing with Art too. I have a very clear memory of being in the studio with him, and he decided that there's this one part that we should sing unison live on the mic together. So there was this moment, I know exactly, where I look over and there's freaking Art Garfunkel and we're singing. I'm trying to match he uses a lot of breath. So it's a lot of like breath to note or breath to full voice ratio. So I'm having to take these giant, huge lungfuls of air just to come close to where he is. And that was amazing to be standing there singing with him, really as him, like trying to match him. I got to open up for Bonnie for like probably around 40 shows and sit in with her on, you ready for the full circle, on saxophone. And and she asked me to like sit in on like Angel from Montgomery, and she sat in with me on my opening set, played slide and sang. It's crazy. It was crazy. She's one of my all-time favorite artists ever. And there she was. There she is. She's still a friend. In fact, I have an opening date with Bonnie in November in Northern California. I'm gonna go open for the first time. I'm opening solo. So this, which is another full circle, is like now I really enjoy that. Like now it's just I know it's gonna be fine because I'm just hanging out with a bunch of other Bonnie fans, and that's how I present it at the at the front of the show. Like I'm just one of you guys. Like we all love Bon, you know, and it's anyway. I'm looking forward to that. Oof. November. We should be clear by then, right?
I hope so. Yeah,
God,
that better happen.
yeah,
In some form, I hope. Yeah, by
yeah,
November, I really do hope. I think we'll ease into things by then. Maybe it might not be a full house, but I
yeah.
still think we could pull these things off.
Please.
All right, fingers crossed.
I
God.
know.
So this is really, meet your heroes. They say don't meet your heroes, but not in this case. This
Oh,
one,
and I would have been completely devastated if she wasn't who she is, but she is so cool, so down to earth. It was like we had been friends forever, just real, always like trying to deflect the spotlight and like, you know, really, really confident and savvy, but no like ego or weird, just like really wonderful human. I totally lucked out. And then, we got to hang out on the road too. And yeah, she never pulls the Bonnie card. Like she always just act like, we're both in this together. You know, it's great.
keeping it real. That I
Very.
love that. I love hearing that because she has that presence on stage. See her TV or film or whatever. She's just, yeah, it seems like really down to earth. Definitely.
And then she opens her mouth and she just blows your face off. So she acts like, I mean, she's is really just humble and real, and then she is just badass every time, every single time. She sounded like the record. And I knew, when you're out on the road for a while, there are days where you don't feel awesome. Maybe you have a cold or something. I knew that there was some times where she was battling a cold or whatever. She got out there, nobody would know it. She just crushed it every night.
Ah, if
I know.
everybody were like Bonnie, it would be
Oh,
just amazing.
well, this world, like, there would be no war. There would be the whole world would be better. I promise.
Oh gosh. But Art Garfunkel, talk about great voices. Bonnie's
Oh
great.
yeah,
But Art Garfunkel, because he could so concentrate on the voice. Like butter. That voice, that had to be just magical being in the room with him and performing.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow. And a great actor too. I remember him when I
That's
was.
right. Yeah, Catch 22, right?
Absolutely. Gosh. Goes way back. But the Simon and Garfunkel that really got on my radar. I remember that. Well, I remember them on Saturday Night Live. That was my first time. This, I don't know how old I was in the 70s. They reunited
Yeah.
and came on. And then they did the Central Park show,
God.
like in
Yeah.
81, I think.
Yeah, I've seen the video for that. And yeah, like they didn't know how many people were going to come. It was like 100,000 people or something like that. Does that sound right? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and then they reunited soon after we worked together the first time. They reunited for something else. I think it was the Grammys, maybe, and that sparked a tour. So I got to go see them at the Staples Center in LA, and the freaking Everly Brothers opened up for Simon and Garfunkel. I
Oh,
mean,
man.
that night of singers and songs, I know it's crazy.
I produced a story for CNN, and it was on a guy who makes mic stands. He specializes in making mic stands. He did a whole bunch for Prince and all these other people, totally crafts them. And he also sings as well and has his own act. But he grew up where the Everly Brothers are from. So there's 6 degrees of separation everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
really,
This is super random, but I went to school with one of the Everly Brothers kids. I want to say Eden Everly. I don't know.
it's all connected. It's all connected.
It's such a Los Angeles thing to say. Oh yeah, I knew them. Yeah,
Totally.
when we were
Yeah,
12.
it's fascinating. Well, we're
Yeah.
kind of getting that in Atlanta because there's a lot more production happening around here.
Mhm.
So, we'll see people every now and then doing productions here. But yeah, really amazing. So in Nashville, uh, have you met other artists and performed with them? I think so many had moved over there, including like Cheryl Crow,
Yeah, she's
people
here.
like that.
Yeah, I got to meet her. We haven't performed together. Um, yeah, I have I have like written with and sat in with a bunch of artists here. But again, it was kind of just getting rolling again. Like I live here now. I'm gonna come sing with my friend because we wrote a song on her record. Yay. And then it just all stopped in March. So I think I'm pretty sure that it happened with Mindy Smith, happened with my friend Lowen. Um, I know I've sung with Kim Ritchie here. Trying to think of some other Nashvilleians. Shelley Fairchild is here. But yeah, it was just, you know, ask me again in about 8 months.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Kim Carnes there as well?
She lives here. Yes. I met her. I got to open up for Bonnie at the Ryman a couple years ago, and Kim Carnes was in the audience. So we hung out afterwards for a little bit. She was a sweetheart.
A really incredible songwriter, just from, I mean, aside from her huge hit and everything, which she always like closes her shows with. I saw her
Oh yeah.
years ago and met her. Yeah. She
Nice.
would play a lot here in the Atlanta area as well in some venues. So yeah, just really, really just a gifted, strong songwriter.
Yeah,
Definitely.
can she keep that voice? Like, does that voice hold up through the whole show? Because it
Oh,
sounds like it's
absolutely.
just at peak all the time. I mean, it's great. And 3 words in, you know that it's Kim Carnes.
Yeah.
Can she sustain that for an hour and a half?
Oh,
Because
she's
she's like
amazing. Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
the
No,
wall the
yeah.
whole time. Cool. I
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
Incredible. Really
Yeah.
incredible. One song, one track that really stands out in my mind, Junkyard Dog. That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
catchy,
Oh,
which is on the
thanks.
new album.
Yeah.
How did that one come together? That's so catchy to me.
Um, let's see. My co-writers Gabe Dixon and Park Chisholm, and I remember I brought the title in and I had a couple lines about it, and I think I really wanted to say a pile of old tires. Like I was just like, okay, what are like all of the junkyard scenes? And I brought it into them, and they're both just great players. Uh, uh, Gabe is the B3 player for the Tedeschi Trucks band, and he's had his own project for forever. And Park Chisholm is a great electric player, but I think he plays everything too. And so I just, I saw that as an opportunity to like really kind of swamp it out, really get our blues on. Yeah, so that one, yeah, it's funny that you bring that one up because, we're talking about all the true stuff on the record. That one's probably the one that's not, not a personal story. It just was really like, I cannot resist doing this big swampy bluesy thing with these guys. So, that's how it was born.
Yeah, and the phrase "junkyard dog" is one of my favorite Jim Croce songs.
Oh, I don't even know that. Okay, I need to go look it up.
That Leroy Brown, his big single. Yeah, meaner than a junkyard dog, as he said.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, okay. So it's not the title of the song. It's just
no, not the title.
It's in Leroy Brown. Okay,
Leroy
good.
Brown. Yeah, I love that. That's resonated for me. So that single came out, pretty big single. I got to know his son many years later, who lives in
AJ. Yeah, I met him down in San Diego. He lived in San Diego when I was in Los Angeles.
Very sweet, who I've had on my program here.
Oh, cool.
Yes, very, very sweet. So that it's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have any tracks you'd like to play?
Well, speaking of the dog, what do you think? You want to hear that one?
Sure.
When you say tracks, did you mean to play them live?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think
wait a minute.
Become a DJ.
I know. Wiki. So, just a warning. It's a little chilly here still, and I have to turn the heat off or it's really loud on the mic. So the temperature, hence the extra layer of clothes, but the temperature drop often affects the acoustic. So hopefully it's hanging in there, but the things that we do for Zoom. Stayed by your side so patiently. No, wait, I already blew the beginning. Stayed by your side so faithfully. I could have worn a sign, said beware of me. I never wandered, no, I never strayed. And nobody got by when I was at the gate. But you could mesmerize me with a barrel fire, go sneak another woman through a tear in the wire, like what we had was just a pile of old tires, and I'm your junkyard dog. Junkyard dog at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog howling out in vain. Fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just your junkyard dog. You left me alone for hours on end, and I was true to you again and again. You had me wagging and willing for whatever you could spare. I took what you were given and followed you anywhere. Like a junkyard dog at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog howling out in vain. Fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just your junkyard dog. Don't beat be surprised to come home and see a collar and a chain where I used to be. You gotta find another fool, take the place of me, and be a junkyard dog at the end of that chain. Junkyard dog howling out in vain, fighting for a love you don't care about, protecting something you could live without. I thought I was the queen of your castle, turns out I'm just a junkyard dog.
Oh, punchy. Absolutely.
The sound of one man clapping.
I know. I need to pump in like an audience there.
I know. Like the football games, or they just like pump in the crowd noise.
They do a really good job with that. I've noticed it's like, how are these NFL games how are they gonna carry this off?
It kind of worked, right? You kind of felt it. I know. You should totally do that. You know, for your podcast, you should do like whoo, and just like the random hoots and hollers and the late clap and somebody yelling out a request. Like, you know, you could do that.
You become like a morning zoo crew. They always have their
right. Auga. Yeah.
always have the sound effects ready. So you've had 2 digital, they call them digital singles out now.
Right.
One that really stands out, is it Whatever We Are?
Yes. Yes. That was the first one. It's funny you're asking for the songs that I thought I would probably want to play.
I'm like reading minds here.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one stands out. So what's the backstory on this song?
So Whatever We Are, I remember I was on some trip. It was I was on the way back from probably a songwriting with soldiers session. I do that. I work with this great organization called Songwriting with Soldiers, and I do that a couple times a month. And I usually have to drive to a site that's anywhere between 4 and 10 hours away from Nashville. Another advantage to living in Nashville, though, because you can like actually get in the car and reach these places in a day. When I was on the West Coast, it was always a flight.
Oh, for sure.
So I was on the way back from somewhere, probably a 6-hour drive. And I had to work this out. I had a person in my life that it was just like, I could not figure out what the hell we were supposed to be together. I thought it was one thing. She thought it was something else. And although for a minute we thought the same thing, but then whatever. It was just like, and I just didn't want to carry it around anymore. I wanted it. I wanted to just love. I wanted the answer to just be that. Like, whatever we are, I love you. Like, and I wasn't quite there yet when I wrote those. I wrote the first 2 verses in the car on that really long drive. And I remember like writing where I wanted to be. And I realized that's kind of a tool now. Like, I think I'm going to do that for other songs. Like, even if I'm not quite there yet, let's sing as if. Like, how about if I say this enough times, maybe I'll really, really feel it. And it's actually helped a lot. So got back to Nashville and brought it into a writing session with 2 great writers, Thomas Fincham and Anna Scholze. And we wrote it actually right here in this very room, obviously before the lockdown. So yeah, and they were on board to bring it across the finish line. I mean, it was more than just across the finish line. I only had the 2 verses. So we wrote the chorus and another verse and a bridge at the chorus. So yeah, it started there with that, like, God, I don't want this to be baggage. I want it to just be, I want to be Zen me for a minute and just like, what would Zen me say? Zen me would say, I love you, whatever we are. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And they were on board. Well, would you like to hear that one? I thought
let's hear it.
I'd pull out the big blonde for this one.
That's nice.
I know. Yeah, I kind of rediscovered her for um, um, uh, a Patreon show that I had last night. I don't know if you've looked into Patreon at all, but it's also been a very, very helpful thing during the pandemic. I have a Patreon page
I noticed that. Yeah.
and people sign up for it, and it keeps me always, always writing, always posting new stuff. They get stuff that has never been heard before. They get all of the new stuff first. So, like, they already have access to the album, even though it's not out to the rest of the world until May 7th. So, a shameless plug, if you sign up for my Patreon page, you can get the album right now.
And we can get that through your website if you want to tell everybody what
Yeah.
your website address is.
Yep. You can get that at my website, which is Maia Sharp, MAIASHARP.com.
Good deal.
And this is whatever we are. How's the electric guitar level for you?
It's pretty good for Zoom.
Okay.
Not bad.
More or less.
I've had much worse.
It's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's doing well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need I've had worse as a review. Oh, I've had worse. Okay. All right, here we go. Never again, or just not today. The first of our kind, or the oldest cliche. Right down the middle, or missed it by far. I love you, whatever we are. Kicking the habit, or up in the dose. Two airplanes flying uncomfortably close. Leftover light from a long gone star. I love you, whatever we are. And we've been it all. I still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you. And it's making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. Stuck in the memories, we're trying to move on. Changing the station, we're singing it along. In the back of my mind, or the back of your car. I love you, whatever we are. I'm not gonna stop when it puts up a fight. I'll just learn how to see you in another new light. 'Cause we've been it all. I still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you. And it's making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. You make me better. Yeah, you break my heart. And I'll love you whatever we are.
Clap.
Thanks, Robert.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Oh, I hope I
Yeah.
get to see you down here if you come to Atlanta, if you go back out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, probably hopefully play like Eddie's Attic, something like that.
I've done a lot of work over at Eddie's Attic, done some stories there.
All right.
That's perfect venue for. I was gonna suggest like go to Eddie's Attic, please, Eddie's.
Yeah, that's kind of been like when I'm there as me and not opening up for somebody else. I think it's been Eddie's every time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great little area over there,
ab-
Decatur, Georgia.
absolutely. Yeah.
I appreciate you stopping by this evening. It's
Well,
been
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
absolutely. And the new album is Mercy Rising.
Hmm.
And where can we get it? Through your website, wherever we get records, tapes, books.
Right. Well, yeah, you can get the two singles, Whatever We Are and When the World Doesn't End, as opposed to what it felt like it was going to do. You can get those everywhere that you stream or download now, and the full album comes out May 7th. You can get that through the website. Um, and unless you want to be on the Patreon ride with me, and then you can get the new album anytime you want.
And you can sign up for an email newsletter as well through the website.
Right. Yes, you can do all of that on the website. And
Are
that
you
and
also on YouTube? Do you do videos as well?
yeah, every single has a video of basically the cover. Although I'm working on a lyric video for the next one, but yeah. So yes, you can go if you go to my site, there's a link to everything. And you can see or hear the song everywhere. You know, YouTube, uh, Pandora, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff.
Good deal. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Well,
so much.
well, thank you so much. You be safe out there.
You too. Have